Hype. Verb. To promote or publicize a product or idea intensively, often exaggerating its importance or benefits. Hi there, my name is Nice Guy McFly and welcome back to the future. Today I'd like to talk to you about hype. While hype exists in many different mediums, I'd specifically like to talk about hype in video games since I have the most experience with them and therefore I feel like more credibility. If you're a returning viewer to this channel or new, this is a totally different video from what I usually do, obviously. But I've been binge watching Lewis Racefic and the Gymquisition, so that's probably why I felt compelled to make a more critic-esque video. Also, if you're wondering why I haven't made a video in a while, it's because Cuphead exists and I've been playing it like crazy. Which brings us to our first point. It goes without saying that hype and excitement for upcoming movies, games, books, and even comics is entirely unavoidable. It also goes without saying that rarely something is very well worth the hype it got. But that this can even cause problems. Take Cuphead, for example, a 2D platformer released on September 29th of this year by Studio MDHR. Cuphead is pretty unique and caught the eye of a ton of gamers. Its art style is a replica of the 1930s cartoons like Looney Tunes, Betty Boop, and Tom and Jerry. And the soundtrack! Oh my God! The soundtrack is so good! I want it on iTunes now! Like those old cartoons, all of Cuphead's art is completely hand-drawn and even has watercolor backgrounds, which is even more impressive considering this is a video game that you actually have control over. The game spent 7 years in development while Studio MDHR did all that they possibly could to have it deliver a sound and complete experience. It's fun, challenging, the character design is true to the 30s, and I have to say that I consider it a masterpiece. Though I will admit to having a bias for old vintage cartoons from the early to mid-1900s, as I pretty much grew up on those. Looney Tunes was always my favorite. Cuphead is no different with its hand-drawn animation and 30s charm. And, don't forget that there are cartoon violence, you know? That's real important. Cuphead is honestly a fantastic game, and the renown from critics and consumers alike really shows that it's beloved by many. But here arises the problem with a game like Cuphead. While it is pretty much a masterpiece, especially in the year 2017, a game can get so much hype from people saying it's insanely good after release that people are put off of it. It is, after all, possible to have too much of a good thing. You see, when something this good is around, it leaves the opportunity for the bad side of their fandoms to grab a hold of people. Either that, or the game is crammed down their throats so much that people just don't want to play it. Sound familiar? It's happened before. The original Five Nights at Freddy's was pretty interesting despite my critiques on it. Hey, don't watch the Food for Thought FNAF video. It's arguably the worst video that I've ever made. I hate it. It's a piece of garbage. It's only at like 15 frames a second. Don't watch it. But the bad side of fandoms got hold, and now people hate it for their misrepresentation of characters, pornographic material, and the fact that it's crammed down their throats and paraded around as God's only gift to man. Which, sadly, they're already beginning to infect Cuphead. For those of you who draw porn of Cuphead and Mugman, need I remind you that they're kids, as well as brothers, and you're also drawing porn of cups. I mean, what kind of basement dweller do you have to be to do that? Moving on from that, before this turns into a rant, let's talk about how hyping something can also be a bad thing. Have you guys ever heard of Ubisoft? If you want to talk about the people who are king at overhyping anything, look no further than the folks at Ubisoft. I don't know how people fall for it anymore. Ubisoft always has drastically scripted trailers and graphics that are never representations of the final product. Watch Dogs, graphical downgrade before release, as well as an underwhelming and boring character and unoriginal story. Assassin's Creed Unity, a glitchy, painful, badly rendered, poor frame rate and performance launch. I mean, even Fallout 4 suffered the punishment of being overhyped, and it wasn't even that bad, though it is a newer Bethesda game, and calling it a true RPG is like calling a hot dog a sandwich. I mean, just look at the user reviews on Metacritic. They're awful. The problem with hyping a game is that 99% of the time it won't live up to your unrealistic expectations. Then people get extremely upset and leave poor reviews or talk about it poorly because they feel like they were lied to, even though the person that lied to them was themselves the entire time. With the exception of some cases, as developers have gotten more and more fond of just stretching the truth a little bit. I'm doing my best not to hype the new Call of Cthulhu game coming out in December, because I don't want to be let down, even though I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed 3 and Unity, Spore, Mafia 3, No Man's Sky, The Division, and Battleborn. I mean, these are just a few examples about how hype can destroy games, and to clarify with Spore, I do mean the latter half when it turned into an RTS. People really didn't seem to like that. So I guess the message here is, don't overhype games, or any media for that matter. Obviously. I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't get that from this video. Try to set a realistic expectation and keep track of how it's being developed. See if there are any controversial decisions or last-second changes as well. It's probably a good idea to never buy a game at launch, and wait a day or two to see the reception, as hard as it may be. So that's the end of the video. If you made it this far and enjoyed it, thank you. If you're a returning viewer or subscriber, or even someone new, tell me if you want to see something like this in the future. I'd love to do more. This script was so much fun to write. This is like a little passion project of mine, even though it's kind of more like an essay than an entertainment video. Like I said earlier, while game journalists like Louis Racefic did inspire me to make this video, I must add that Cuphead itself was a big inspiration as well, as it rarely happens that I like a game as much as Cuphead that I desperately want to express how amazing it is to people. I mean, games like Spec Ops The Line and Dark Souls, and I would say The Last of Us, but I haven't had the chance to play it yet, but trust me, one of these days I'm going to. Those games are games that also I just want to talk about how great they are. And if you guys want videos talking about those in the future, I'd love to provide them. I'd also like to thank my one Patreon donator, just the one, Desu Dino, for supporting the channel with money out of their wallet. They don't have a question for me at the moment, but maybe they will in the future. If you liked what I did, consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you didn't, leave some constructive criticism and, I don't know, tell me I'm a faggot or something. I mean, that's how YouTube works. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.